This is Kevin Van Hentenryck, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. And if you lift the lid of the basket, you die.
All right, and welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I am Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by... That's your cue, Troy.
Duckman.
Duckman.
Well, that would make me terrible, Troy.
And making her long-awaited return...
I am Annabelle Lecter.
Nice.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
It's nice to have
Thank
you back.
you. I appreciate that. It is very nice to be back. I missed it more than I thought I would, and I'm very happy to have returned.
Excellent.
You can't give up on
very
these
fortunate.
without your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth
No,
it.
I'm really lucky. Everything worked out awesome. So.
We always save the seats just in case. People sometimes
You're
return.
so good to me. You guys are great. I appreciate. But anyways, we've got a good guest on tonight.
We do indeed. We have the star of George Romero's Martin, Creepshow, Night Riders, Day of the Dead. He's professor, director, actor. We have John Amplas on the line. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Awesome, thanks.
Excellent.
We're all doing well. And if anyone had happened to listen beforehand, which hopefully they cannot, we've all established that we are doing well many times.
Oh, they're listening. They're always listening.
Exactly. Now, I mentioned that you are a professor, and we're going to go over your career, obviously, but would you like to tell everybody what you do currently?
Well, currently, the next thing for me, George Romero related, is that we're doing a terrific benefit for Scares That Care on June 22nd here in Pittsburgh at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont. And it's sponsored by a local convention group here called Horror Realm, and, of course, Scares That Care.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Oh,
Yeah, they're a wonderful group of people.
It's also going to be a celebration of my 64th birthday.
You're not that. I don't believe it.
Yeah. So we want to get as many people there as possible. We're going to screen Martin at 8:00. There's going to be an art a secret. What do they call that thing?
Auction.
A silent auction.
That's it.
An auction.
Thank you very much. You see now you know that I'm truly 64. So we're going to have a secret auction, and it's going to be a hell of a night. Raise a lot
We'll put
of
up a
money
link.
for Scares That Care.
Yeah, we'll put up some links for you guys. That's great. The Scares That Care group, they're absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, go see the movie.
Yeah, now you said you're going to screen Martin, and what do you think it is about Martin that, like, the movie stands up so many years later?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what's kept it going for 37 years. I think it's, number one, I think it's a well-made film.
Mm-hmm.
It was made when independents were really being made.
Right.
It was a labor of love. It was a small group of people that really wanted to make a good film. And Romero, when he writes, directs, and produces his own stuff, I don't think you can get a better film out of him.
Mm-hmm. Now, for like the scenes on the train, and pretty much all the sets are practical sets. Everything looks real. Was the train actually moving?
No. No, it wasn't. There are some shots in it where I am on the train and it is moving, but in those initial shots at the beginning, it wasn't.
So
it wasn't moving when I was in the scene with Fran Middleton.
Mm-hmm. What's it like to film in such like a cramped location?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it hard to film scenes in such a cramped location, actually being in a train?
No, I don't think so. I've never found shooting any scene particularly difficult. I mean, if you understand the limitations and you've worked out and rehearsed the choreography, nothing difficult about it.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing that really stands out about Martin and a lot of the movies from the 70s is it really leaves it up to the audience to like make up their own mind, their own conclusion to what Martin is. Like, is he really
end of that movie?
Yeah, is he really vampire? Is it all in his head? And do you think that's something that makes it unique?
I do. Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, I've made my decision about what Martin is or what Martin isn't. But I think it's a nice hook for the audience to kind of make up their own mind. So I think it helps.
I think it keeps.
I have a question about that because I know a lot of people nowadays, they don't like that kind of mysterious ending. I think it's not something that's done very often anymore, and it's almost as if people get angry when things aren't wrapped up for them. Do you think that's true? And if so, what do you think about that?
I think it may be true for a certain segment of the movie-going population, but I think if you like a good story and you're interested in the characters and you're interested in what the director is doing and saying, I think a good movie is a good movie regardless of whether the audience has to make up its own mind or not. If they can't make up their own mind or, I'm not sure I know what to say about that. But I do think that I think that a smart, intelligent moviegoer is interested in a good story, and if it helps them to think a little bit, even the better.
Yeah. Now, you said
I agree with that.
Yeah. You mentioned you made up your own mind. You know what Martin is. Do you like to tell people what you think is going on there, or do you like to keep that?
No, yeah. I mean, for me, it's no secret, and George even has said the same thing. I mean, we both believe that Martin's just a crazy, mixed-up kid.
Mm-hmm.
And, the whole idea about vampirism, I think, is just part of his delusion that he's had to deal with from, his entire family has always told him who and what he was. And he's just been passed down from family member to family member. And I think the poor kid is just, he believes, he's been told something so many times that he just simply believes it.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were playing Martin, did you have that in your head, or is that something you thought about afterwards?
The only thing I had in my head, and I think it's wise for actors not to get too wrapped up, is what I had to do on a moment-to-moment basis. Acting is being in the moment and believing and doing what you're supposed to do in the moment. And so a film, like a play, like a novel, everything happens on a moment-to-moment basis. And so what I try to keep my mind on when acting is that I have to do a certain thing and accomplish a certain goal in this amount of time. And I'm going to be as true to that as I possibly can. Then the film is put together, edited, on a moment-to-moment basis. And if you're honest in each of those moments, then the story is told.
Now, we have a caller on the line. If anyone else wants to call in, it's 508-644-8503. Greg, you have a question for John?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm great.
Was that your question?
Good. My question is, one of my favorite movies you did was the Father's Day scene from the Creepshow. Was that you the whole thing, or?
Yeah, that was me as I call him Dead Nate.
Yeah, Dead Nate, right?
Comes up out of the grave and gets the opportunity to kill Who?
Yeah.
First, Ed Harris, and finally and ultimately Carrie Nye. Take her damn head off and put it on a plate.
How was it working with Ed Harris? Was it good?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I didn't hear that.
Greg wants to know what it was like to work with Ed Harris.
Oh, it's terrific. I worked with Ed in Night Riders and him then. And that was Ed's first feature. And he's a terrific actor, as we all know, and he was also a terrific guy. Really down to earth. I've also met and really appreciate his wife, Amy Madigan, as well.
Yep.
Both those people are just really good people.
Yeah, my last thing is Monster Media is coming up in August here in New Jersey, and George Romero is going to be there. I was wondering maybe you could be a guest there.
What's it about Monster Mania in New Jersey?
Yeah, well, George might be there, but I won't be.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I were, but no, I've split with the manager that George has, and the truth of the matter is that I have so many things going on anymore that conventions are very difficult for me to get to.
Okay.
That guy in New Jersey, by the way, is a tough cookie. Whoever runs that place, I forget his name. I'm gonna say it anyway. Is that he's not a real nice guy. So dealing with him would be a pain in my behind.
You can say anything you like here on the show. So
You can say whatever you want to. You can say.
Well, my last thing is, can you do the Mother's Day voice for me, please?
Greg, I just hope that you have a great time, man. When I've gone to conventions, and I haven't gone to that many, but I've done a few over the last 4 or 5 years, the biggest thrill is meeting the fans. The fans are what make and what fuel the conventions. And meeting you and having being able to shake your hand and find out just how much you guys appreciate the people that make these movies. It's one of the most gratifying things that's ever happened to me.
Thanks for calling in, Greg.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of conventions too, and you mentioned that. And I don't want to get too much into it, but do you see a lot of politics behind the scenes lately, and on the convention circuit?
I didn't totally get that. I'm sorry.
Well, you mentioned the promoter of the Monster Mania being a pain, and have you seen a lot of drama, a lot of politics behind the scenes at the conventions recently?
I see it. I don't pay any attention to it. I don't get that involved with really trying to deal with these promoters. If I have a manager that does it, that's what I prefer. So I just kind of stick to myself and do my own thing.
Yeah. I like your answer about
me. I do know that the politics does exist. But I try to I keep my head down and mind my own business.
Yeah.
Very wise.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The last caller brought up Creepshow, which is, I've said many times on the show, it's one of my favorite horror movies. It was the first movie my mother bought me in the old clamshell VHS thing. And when I was a kid, my brother here, he bought me the Tom Savini book on makeup. And he talked about making that makeup and that they used Rice Krispies. Is that true?
Yeah, of course that's true. Yeah, all of that's true. Whatever Tom said about it, it's true.
Okay. I wasn't questioning that.
You could take Tom to the bank.
I worked on Creepshow for about 2 weeks. And the first week was Savini and me under plaster to make the mask, to do the hands, to create the suit. So it took about a week of preparation to create that creature. It was ingenious because I was able. The head was just a mask piece that went completely over my head. So I was indeed without my own head. And the chest and the suit was just like a suit that I was able to kind of put on and put together, and the hands were gloves. And then I shot for a week, and then my time there was over. One of the interesting things maybe about all of that is that I got a call from Tom, who asked me to come in and do this particular role because in those days I was still a young and thin John Amplas. So he needed a thin guy so that the creature didn't look too heavy. So he kept that emaciated look about him.
Mm-hmm. Now, I heard that that you didn't want to put the makeup on when they put the real maggots on it.
That's correct. Yeah, I wouldn't lie to you. There's no point in it. A PA, female, by the way, did the shot with the maggots.
Mm-hmm. I can't say I blame you.
No, I think that's a wise choice.
Well, I don't mean to be a coward about it, but there's only so much. There's only so much I'm willing to do, even if I'm getting paid.
Well, there's always
I don't think you're alone in that.
There's always some guy that wants to do that stuff.
I'll do everything else. I'll do everything else, but I'm not a fan of maggots.
Yeah, Doc just does it on his spare time. He doesn't.
You don't need to degrade yourself.
They were crawling in and out of the mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Did you taste any of them?
Yeah. I'm not that hungry.
I don't smoke what Duckman does. I don't have the munchies.
I have another question that kind of goes into the makeup thing. I was checking out your website, and it said that you ended up branching out in a way to be an assistant makeup artist. How did that come about? When did that start for you?
Oh, that was really for Dawn of the Dead. I mean, yeah, Dawn of the Dead. Back in, I helped Savini, and there were a bunch of people helping Savini with the zombie makeup. We had hordes and hordes of people coming in wanting to be zombies. Just fans from all over the place, and we needed hundreds and hundreds of them for Dawn. So we had a real what do they call that? The assembly line.
Yeah.
So we would.
So you kind of just learned the basics and what's up?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I didn't.
I was just saying that. So you learned some of the basics, and everybody kind of worked as a team just to get the movie going, because it couldn't just be Savini and like a small group on their own.
Yeah, that's correct.
How did you like that experience? Or was it just kind of like a one-time thing and now I'm done?
I did the majority of the casting in terms of zombies for Dawn of the Dead as well. So I brought a lot of the people in, and then I also worked. I did anything on that movie that they wanted me to do. I was kind of like a glorified PA.
Nice.
When you're casting for zombies, is there any particular thing you look for?
Not at all.
A dead stare.
What we were looking for were people from all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to find them. I mean, there are many of the zombies from Dawn of the Dead that have kind of gone on to celebrity status.
Yeah.
And
Jack and I
the nurse zombie and the Hare Krishna zombie, and so we wanted as many variety from any walk of life zombie that we could find.
Mm-hmm. You think
and we found them.
You think that's something that's missing when they do a lot of CGI for the zombies, and there might be millions of them, but they're all pretty much exactly the same? In Dawn of the Dead, there's a lot of them, but they're all actual people, and they're all unique. They all look like, someone that was actually alive at one point.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't paid that much attention to a lot of the newer zombie films.
Mm-hmm.
When we were making, when I was working with George in the 70s and 80s, there was no CGI. So everything had to be done, by an actual person. And I think that was a lot of fun. Now, I am not against CGI. In fact, I enjoy it a great deal when it's done right and it really helps tell the story. But we didn't have that luxury of using CGI then.
It's needed.
Savini's first movie with Romero was Martin, so you kind of
right.
saw him like grow as a makeup artist and kind of invent his own things and stuff. Is that whole experience like fun and to look back on, pretty exciting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Tom had worked a lot in with makeup and had a long time interest, even as a young man. His hero was Lon Chaney. So, in fact, he even named his first son Lon.
Nice.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, he was just happy about that.
Yeah, very
yeah,
happy.
we're all glorifying it.
Yeah.
No shit.
You go on, John.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm just saying that Tom had a long time interest in special effects, and yes, he and I met on Martin, and he did all the special effects in Martin. Also, Tom actually went down to the office and auditioned for the role that I did.
Mm-hmm. Was there any competition there?
Not a bit. I had no idea that had happened. I was offered the role. I was offered the role by George in the summer of '76. Mm-hmm. He happened to come to a play I was in at the Pittsburgh Playhouse. It was my last year in college. And he saw a production of a play called Philemon, which I played a young slave Christian. It was about Christians being persecuted in Antioch. He saw that production. We talked afterwards. Briefly, he introduced himself and said that he liked the production, liked the performance, and he had a movie that he was thinking about casting, and we exchanged contact information. Several months later, I had even forgotten that we had talked. Several months later, he called me and said he had the script and would I come down to his offices at Laurel. I did. He offered me the script and he offered me the role, and I said yes. It was that simple.
Did he mention anything specifically that stood out to him, that he thought would be perfect for the Martin role about you in that play?
The truth is, no. We had
overall amazing.
The truth is that we had very little conversation before, during, or after about who Martin was, or how to play it, or any of that. I think George felt that he cast the right guy. And I felt that I had a pretty good understanding, intuitively, of what this character was about. And so we shot the damn film, in about 6 weeks. And the rest is history, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to have a director trust in you as an actor to understand the script and do what you have to do?
It's of primary importance. I think the trust that needs to be there between director and actor is extremely important. It gives you confidence as an actor that the director trusts you to know what to do, and it also gives me confidence it also gives the actor confidence to know that the director trusts you and lets you do what you do, which is to act.
We got a 440 area code. Who are you? Caller on the line.
Yo.
I'm sorry. Hey, Neil. This is Matt Wachowski.
How you doing?
Good. I've called in a couple of times before. I love your show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. You have a question for John?
Yeah, actually, two quick ones. First of all, hi, John. How you doing?
I'm great.
It's great. The two questions I have are for one concerning Dawn of the Dead. From what I heard, you were supposed to be the machete zombie before Lenny Lee took over. Is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay, because that's the story that he said, but I just wanted a clarification.
Is that the scuttlebutt?
What?
Is that the word on the street? I don't remember that that's the case. I was, as I said a little bit earlier, I was on set every day, every night, doing whatever I could do. Happy to do it. I did play part of my body, got into several of the scenes. I think I'd get my arm cut off in a door at some point. It was never told to me that I was cast as an official zombie, however.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard in an interview that Tom had the.
I think Lenny did a fine job as the machete zombie. In fact, I think at one point he told me that I handed him the machete and said, "Go do this."
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. That's where I got it from. And I was like, yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. And my second question is,
yeah, that's the truth. I did hand him the machete.
It's awesome. And my second question is, and I'm sure you've gotten asked this at conventions a bunch of times, but as far as the conclusion of Martin, or just Martin in general, do you think he's a vampire, or do you think he's a guy who's just kind of, not well with himself?
I get it. Yeah, he's for me, he's a crazy mixed up kid.
Okay.
He obviously was literally a vampire in the fact that he did take blood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that and I don't know that psychologically has anything to do with Martin's makeup. But I think Martin believes he was, and I think that's where, and I think that's the most important part, that Martin thought that he was, but this actor just thinks he was a delusional young man.
See, when I drank blood, I threw up. So it makes me think the fact that he digested it, there's something going on physiologically that's different than everybody else.
Could be.
I don't know. I don't like drinking blood. I don't go out and do it, but sometimes you're stuck out in the desert with nothing but a camel's head.
Thank you for calling in, Matt. Was it Matt?
Oh, thanks again, Neil. And thanks again, John. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you calling in.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a good call.
Troy, did you have a question?
Actually, I was curious. One of the coolest things about Martin to me was the black and white scenes and not knowing whether it was kind of a flashback to something that happened in Martin's past, or if it's just kind of what he was dreaming up at the time of what was going on. John, do you have any answers or insight into that?
I think it represents. It could represent the guy's past. I think it represents Martin's kind of psychological delusion.
Mm.
For me,
I love those scenes though in the movie. I just think they're great.
Yeah, I think they're great. I love those scenes.
How do you feel that Netflix is not having Marvin on on the Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It's just not streaming.
Oh yeah, it's not.
That's right. And if anybody can get to Netflix and tell them that Tom Savini is not the star, and tell them that John Amplas is, and to take Savini's name off the damn thing, I'd be a happy camper.
Fuck Netflix. Yeah. I will call them for you.
You think that?
Do
you think
that must be incredibly frustrating.
Let's get that changed. The only thing that means to me is that they never saw the film.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like Annabelle just said here, all kidding aside, that must be really frustrating. It's your art, it's your work, and they have someone else listed as a star.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Shame on them.
I agree. Everyone listening should definitely contact Netflix. And
if you use Netflix, which all of you do, because you use the internet, then get your ass on there and complain. And don't just complain about this, man. Complain about the fact that half the things on there, the categories are fucked up, and they don't put the movies on that we want to watch, so we end up going and bootlegging them.
Here.
See, John agrees with me, so fuck him.
Here in the chat room, Graphic Gimmick wants to know, what's your favorite artwork for a film cover or poster?
Of mine?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. There are really so many. I mean, a lot of the, I've seen so many, both of Martin, of Creepshow, of Dawn, of, boy, that's hard to say. They're all brilliant. I love art in general. And I found that some of the genre artists are just spectacular. In fact, there's a new poster of Martin being made for this event that I'm doing on the 22nd by a local horror artist by the name of Terry Callan. And I've had a sneak peek, and it too is going to be up there with some of the really all-time great poster art. I don't know that I can pick one in particular. I love them all, and I'm always fascinated just how good these artists are.
I really like there's a one with you as Martin where you've got like the broken wine glass with the blood in. I always think that's a particularly nice one.
Yeah, I posted that up on my site, on my Facebook site a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought that was extremely original. Really a wonderful, wonderful shot.
Mm-hmm.
Not shot, but art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annabelle, did you have an art question? Or a question in general?
Oh, I wanted to know about just how does it feel to have somebody else just draw you or something like that, like it's really, to me, it's amazing, to be involved in art that way, just to be as a piece,
I do know what you mean, and yes, I am flattered by it. I think it's tremendous. I have, since the time that I've made this movie, which has been a long time, 37 years, I have been nothing but excited about every aspect of the fans' involvement, the other folks, because it's the fans, it's the artists, it's the people that want to make films, it's the new filmmakers that are seeing this work coming from the 70s and 80s and being inspired by it. So I've been never anything but grateful and flattered by those that can make the art, that can make new films, that have been inspired by the things that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of.
I can say as somebody who has tried to make a movie, but I ran out of money halfway through it, that my experience making films. Everything that you said really taught me a lot just listening to you in these, brief moments that we've had, it taught me a lot. And I think a lot of people out there can listen to the guys like you who were doing movies before there was the CGI and the computer stuff, because when I tried to make my movie, we just went over to which I'm actually really lucky. We got one of the top stores in the nation for like theater makeup and stuff like that. And we just tried the old school way. And if I hadn't run out of money, I would have had more money for the latex and, explosions and all that other shit. But,
I hear you. I hear you.
I really like what you have to say about, everything about people getting involved in movies and stuff like that. Because the whole thing is we all need to have fun. There's too much of this weird shit.
Yeah, you have to do the work that you do, whatever profession it is. Go ahead and do it in spite of anybody saying yes or no. Do it. I just made, in fact, about a week ago, I made a short film with a couple of new young filmmakers here in Pittsburgh called Meet Your Maker. It's a couple of guys, the cousins, the Frankart brothers, or cousins rather, and it's on my Facebook page. And we just finished it. And they're editing it now. Extremely low budget, but they put their heart and soul into this thing. Extremely well written. The cinematographer was Pat Frankert. The screenplay writer was Justin Frankert. And they put together this little Twilight Zone-esque episode, and it's brilliant. In fact, it's going to be a trailer for Martin at this event I keep talking about on the 22nd of June here in Pittsburgh. And we got good old Chili Billy Cardilli, Laurie Cardill's dad, who is a well-known broadcast guy here in Pittsburgh, to do the narration a la Rod Serling. And he did a beautiful job. And if you go on my Facebook page, there's a clip of Chili Billy doing the intro, and it's just spectacular. The thing here that I want to end with, in terms of my yammering on here, is that, look, if you want to do something, go ahead and do it. There are ways and means to do it. Don't stop. Don't let anybody tell you to stop. Do what is in your heart. Make sure that you do it right and believe in it, and just keep doing it.
Well, thank you.
You give some hints about the means of doing it. I'd love that. You get the motivation, but the means would be wonderful.
Hustle. Yeah, hustle your ass off. That's what you do. You go sell tacos downtown.
Well, you have to have some good common sense. There's no doubt about it. And yes, you have to raise money, or you have to have somebody that's willing to give you some money. But the honest truth of it is that you don't need a whole lot of money, not to get started. You need enough to accomplish your goal, and that is hopefully to make a good movie. And keep it simple. Don't try to get extravagant. Don't go over your ability to accomplish the art. Make sure that what you do is heartfelt, and make sure that what you do is honest, and try to do it right. You can get it done.
Sounds like you watched dinner and a movie.
Yeah, people are doing it. I mean, look, Martin was an independent when independents were really independents. Mm-hmm. You would be surprised at how little money Martin was made for ultimately. And it was, we never had more than 8 or 10 people on set at any point in time. We've all become friends. It was a labor of love. It was not uncommon for me to pick up cable. It was not uncommon for me to jump in and help set up a scene. It was a group of people that wanted to make a good movie.
That's excellent. Yeah, so when you talk about independent movies, you mean it really is a group of people that just kind of get together and make it happen. It's not people that have a budget given to them, per se.
That's correct. I mean, most of the great filmmakers that are out there today, they started small. They started with a group of people in their garage that wanted to do this. It's the same as what I do in theater. I mean, I'm really from, my background is really, I'm a theater guy.
I wanted to ask you about that a little bit.
Yeah, I've been doing theater since age 10.
Do you still do it?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you still do theater?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my bread and butter.
Okay. That's awesome.
But you've been teaching acting for almost 20 years, haven't you?
Pardon me?
You've been teaching acting for almost 20 years, haven't you?
Oh, no, more. I just finished 30 years.
Wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, I just got full professorship at Point Park University here in Pittsburgh. We own and operate the Pittsburgh Playhouse. In fact, we're building a brand new playhouse downtown in the next 3 to 4 years. But I started when I was 10 years old. My uncle used to do community theater. And so he got me involved. And I kept at it. I went to school. I went to acting classes at the Playhouse when I was 14 to about the time I was 17. I then went to the Army, came back, and enrolled at Point Park College then. I was already 23 years old and graduated with a BFA. I left in 76, which is at the same exact time that I met George. After Martin, I moved to New York and worked in New York for about 6 years, and periodically would come back to Pittsburgh to do plays. Ultimately, I wound up back here, and I was offered a part-time teaching job. Turned out that I rather liked it, and I continued teaching, I continued acting, and also started directing plays. So I've been acting and directing, most of my life in theater. When you take away, maybe some of like 15 films that I've done, I have 150 stage plays that I've been involved in.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
I know, Neil and I just recently saw Sweeney Todd in this area, and I feel like seeing that it reminded me of how much people should respect theater acting, because there's no redos. There's none of that. And that's a musical, and you really can't screw it up. It's a one-shot deal to do what you have to do.
Everyone's different.
Right. That's the big difference between making a movie and being on stage, is that on stage you have to go through it from the first moment to the last moment. Mm-hmm. And that means you better be damn well rehearsed and damn well prepared.
Take a leak before you get in your monkey suit.
Pardon me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said take a leak before you get in your monkey suit.
Oh, you have to hit your mark every single moment, yeah.
Exactly.
Film, of course, is broken up, as we know. And in that regard, it can be a little bit easier. But, the thinking and the preparation behind creating a character for both mediums is pretty much the same. You have to have an understanding of the character's psychology from the first moment through the last moment. You might be shooting out of sequence. However, you have to know the sequence of events that take place in the film.
Right.
So you can make sure you're developing that character appropriately in any given time.
Absolutely. That's correct.
And as when you're on the stage, either as an actor or you're directing, whatever, what is like getting the immediate response from the audience? that'd be much different than making a movie and not being able to see what they think of it for, months later or maybe years later.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I mean, it's not so much an immediate response. It's the response afterwards, that you get from the audience. But you can sense, too, whether an audience is coming with you and suspending their disbelief for a couple of hours. In a film, of course, we never get to really see that response from the audience. Unless you're sitting in the audience at the time,
right.
Which I don't happen to do. I may see it at a premiere or something, and that'll be my only gauge as to what a live audience watching a movie is sensing. But if it's a good movie, I get response, especially today with Facebook and all the social media. I can get a pretty quick response if necessary.
Right. Annabelle and I have been, ever since we met, thinking about wanting to do our own movie of some sort. So hopefully at some point in time we get to do that.
You absolutely should,
Jack.
What was that?
Yeah, you absolutely should.
You're doing a movie.
Mm-hmm. What was that, John?
I said you absolutely should make your own movie.
Excellent. We got some questions here.
Claymation, me versus Duckman.
Well, you're gonna play Duckman?
Okay.
Claymation.
Exactly.
Yeah, forget it.
I wanted to ask John one thing real quick. As a director, how do you deal with somebody? Because I have been in a couple plays, but I am terrible at remembering things. But I'm awesome at improv. So how, as a director, would you tell somebody to get better at theater so that they stop trying to be? I don't know. You're a director. I'm so full of myself. I need to shut up and learn my part.
Okay. So you're asking me. What or how would I deal with an actor that has difficulty remembering things and is better at improv?
Mm-hmm. Showboating.
Is that what?
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, basically, somebody who you could put in a good part, but they don't know what the heck they could do. They obviously have a lot of talent, but they don't know anything about the process of dealing with it.
Okay, gotcha. Here's my answer.
I honestly don't. And I would like to be involved in the stuff.
Let's hear John's answer, Duckman.
All right, here's my answer. My answer is this. I work in the professional theater. I would not cast anyone that was not a professional. I would not cast anyone that didn't know how to do their job. And therefore, the people that I work with all know what the actor does. They all know what the director does. They all know what every person on the production team does.
Right.
So I would not run into that situation. Now, the place that may take place is in the classroom. I teach acting for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
Okay.
And when they come in as freshmen, they obviously don't have much experience.
Mm-hmm.
And what we try to do there is we work with them, explaining to them and helping them to understand that there's a thing called technique. And technique is how to approach the work of the actor. And that's where that question really belongs. It's about in the classroom teaching somebody that does have talent, but doesn't have much experience. And so it's in the classroom that I would help develop their acting skills.
I got you. So for anybody...
Never on stage. By the time they get on stage, they know what the hell they're doing.
Okay, that's awesome. So for anybody that's interested, they should go to school, right?
That's exactly right, sir.
Right.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they should train for the theater because if they can work in the theater, they'll be able to work on film.
Here on the Facebook page from Lawrence, he wants to know, could you possibly share any stories about your time making Midnight with John Russo?
Yes, of course. I mean, yes. Probably the most ridiculous story I have making that movie with John was I was doing a play at the time he cast me at the Pittsburgh Playhouse. It was the 50th reunion. And I had, we were doing a play called A Life in the Theater. And I was playing the young actor. And like I said, it was the 50th reunion, which meant that there was a big celebration and a big party afterwards. John, for some reason, insisted that my first shoot was on that night. I wasn't really prepared to work that night, and I was a little disgruntled about the fact that he refused to change the time. I stayed at the reunion party for a while, and by the time I got to set, I was drunk on my ass. And so, very unprofessionally, I donned this black hood and hid under it, trying to act and say lines in my first night on the shoot. I don't think John was very happy with me, but I think we both got over it.
Mm-hmm. What was John Russo like? You know, I've met him many times, but what was he like to work with?
John's a really nice guy. He's a super nice guy. After that, me and John got along just fine. Mm-hmm. He's a smart guy. As we know, he is part of the team with George that wrote Night of the Living Dead. Mm-hmm. John's a great writer. He's got a lot of books out. He's a really, really good guy, and I enjoyed working with him.
You know, speaking of novels, have you ever read the Martin novelization?
I haven't. I never read it.
Nor have I, so we'll go on to the next question.
Let's get a copy. I'm going to go to the used bookstore, and I'm going to find one.
What I hear is that, what I understand about it is that it's in more detail. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot more of the quote-unquote sexy stuff in it than is in the movie. Mm-hmm. But it's a fairly good, I think the film is still, from what I'm told, is a fairly good representation of the novel.
Mm-hmm. Originally the movie was, 3 hours? And then it was edited down to 90 minutes? And
yeah, that's there was a 3-hour cut or 3.5-hour cut. I mean, I think it was always meant to be cut shorter. Mm-hmm. But there is a big kind of mystery about whatever happened to that 3-hour cut.
Yeah. So it doesn't. Do you remember any differences, or what was cut out to make it shorter? Or?
Well, the truth is, I only saw this 3.5-hour cut once, mm-hmm. And so you're really testing my memory about what may have been left out. I don't think there was, anything actually left out that would have made much of a difference in the telling of this story.
Mm-hmm. It's made it longer.
I remember a lot more running scenes of Martin running from place to place.
Yeah, those aren't always needed.
But other than that, I don't think there was a lot of stuff that was cut out.
Yeah,
that would have made the film any better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if there's a story here, but Lawrence also wants to know: were you Martinez or Rico or some other character in Dawn of the Dead? He said this needs to be settled.
Here's the deal.
Uh-huh.
I know Joe Shelby says that he was Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
And if Joe wants to be Martinez, he sure may. and I say that George told me that I was Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we both claim it. But you know what? If Joe wants to be Martinez, he sure may. But I sign it too.
Mm. You said you don't really.
You can call me any damn thing you want, as long as it's not late for supper.
Exactly. You said you don't really pay attention to like the modern zombie movies, but being like part of like iconic zombie films, and what do you just think of like the big zombie craze that's around right now?
Well, the one that I really like is the one that's on TV, is the
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think The Walking Dead's great. It's a great story, and so I really like that one. The thing is, I'm not a zombie aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
Horror, believe it or not, is not my number one genre to watch. I have a great appreciation for it, and I will watch it on occasion. But I don't know much about a lot of the newer zombie movies.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a bad thing to say? I don't think.
No, it's fine.
No, they suck. I don't watch that bullshit.
What is your preferred genre?
What is my favorite genre?
Yeah.
That's the truth is that's hard to say. What I like are really good films. I love independent films, especially some. I watch Netflix most of the time, even though we beat Netflix up a little bit a bit ago. I don't have cable anymore because I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I don't want to pay for cable right now.
Well, then we need to get some cable.
Netflix is good though. You can watch it.
Yeah, Netflix is great.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
But I like all manner of film. I really do. Scorsese is one of my favorite directors. I'd watch anything Scorsese made. I have a lot of favorites. I loved all the Coppola stuff. Not his daughter, but him.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse Now. The Godfather is by far my favorite movie.
Oh, yes.
There's not a bad scene in the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they did wrong in The Godfather was cast poor Diane Keaton.
Yeah, animated third one.
Yeah, and I like Diane Keaton, but that was not the right role for her.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But both old and new, I like a good movie. I love crime movies. I love crime dramas. I love gangster movies.
I think we have a very similar taste in film.
I love all the stuff Scorsese did early on, Mean Streets and Panic in Needle Park, and all that stuff. Those are kind of my favorite films.
Yeah. You said horror is not really your favorite, but you like it if it's a good horror movie. And you were talking earlier about like a lot of like the genre artists are really good. Do you think if you are in the horror genre, sometimes you're overlooked for your artistic talents because you are doing horror?
You know what? I think I am. Which is why I like that wine thing that wine poster you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the fine wine of horror. Not everybody gets to drink it. And so that it's appreciated by a very small but loyal group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's my status. in the horror genre. Of course, I'm not. I'm not the. I'm not the. I'm not. I don't know who I would name. Who would I name? Doug Bradley, or I'm
Robert
not.
Yeah.
I'm not those guys who's made a big splash in kind of commercial horror. I like to think of myself as that fine wine that people find and enjoy and sip every now and then.
Acquired taste.
That's very, very well put. Very well put.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. On Facebook, a friend of the show, Kevin Van Hentenrick, he said to say hello to you. No, are you guys like friends?
What's his name?
Kevin Van Hentenrick from Basket Case Films. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up.
It's Kevin's a tall guy, right? Curly hair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him at a convention here in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
At Horror Realm. Really nice guy. But what's the director of Basket Case? Tell me again.
Oh, you're putting us on the... I love almost all his films, too. Basket Case, Brain Damage, and... what's his name? Help me out here, Annabelle.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's all you. You're on the
I had a
spot.
great time.
Hidden Ladder.
There you go, Head and Lauder.
That's
Sorry,
it.
I had to Google that.
That's it. Yeah, I met them both here a couple of years ago. Wonderful guys. Terrific guys. Really funny, really down to earth, wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about conventions, are the people that you meet, both the fans and other people that other actors and filmmakers,
other colleagues,
in the genre. Getting to know them and having good conversations, and that's what's so appealing about going to a convention, is meeting new people and being able to shake hands and talk.
Yeah. Do you find overall at the conventions, everyone involved, like you said, from the actors to the directors and the fans themselves, they're all very accepting of each other?
I think so. I have found that to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met anybody that didn't think that was necessarily too standoffish or wouldn't shake your hand or say hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been fortunate, but I think that's the general. I think that's the general rule, that everybody gets along pretty well.
Yeah. Here in the chat room, Dave from the Grave wants to know, what's your opinion on all the horror remakes?
The horror remakes. Well, I think remakes are done maybe for two reasons. Probably the worst reason is to make a remake for money, a commercial remake for money. Because you want to capitalize on the name, or you want to capitalize on somebody that was in it, or some such thing. I think that's always a mistake. I think the good remake is one that is able to tell this story and maybe have a new way of presenting it and thinking about it. Those remakes are sincere and are all about good filmmaking and telling a good story and maybe just simply updating the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be two reasons. Like I said, one is commercial, and if you're making a remake just to make money, then you're a goofball.
Yeah.
If you're making a remake because you have a new idea on how to present it, you have something original that you want to bring to the old film, then yes, let's go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Martin has crossed many desks over the years, and there's been a lot of talk about a remake of it. All I would say is, if it gets done, I hope they do it justice. I don't know that a better film of Martin could be made, I think George hit it right on the top of the head, hit the nail on the head when we did it in '76. And I would hope that the idea of making a remake for that wouldn't happen.
My first experience with Martin was always seeing the pictures, and I don't know if it was Fangoria magazine.
It was Fangoria.
Yeah. And do you think those magazines at that time really helped a lot of the independent horror movies get their name out there, before you had the internet and everything?
I absolutely do. Yeah, I absolutely do. I think so. When we shot Martin and it was first distributed, I was in New York, and it played at the Waverly on the Lower East Side as a midnight show for about 6 months, and it was doing next to zero business. I think what's helped Martin over the years is that the fans found it. And I think one of the ways that the fans found it were through these magazines, through these genre magazines that were telling the story that, hey, this is a great little film, that this is something you should pay attention to. And bit by bit, people started to pay attention to it. George's succeeding films, Night Riders, Dawn of the Dead, Night Riders, Day of the Dead, Creepshow, all made a bigger splash and a bigger commercial event, and that helped George's reputation. And when fans started to follow some of those films, they were then looking more into, okay, what else has he done? And again, going back and finding Martin, even going back and finding The Crazies and Always Vanilla and some of those earlier 70s movies that George did. So to answer your question, yes, I think those magazines help a lot and can do a lot for a film's image and help get the word out, no doubt.
Annabelle, do you have a question?
Yes, I did.
All right.
My question was, actually, earlier you mentioned something about actors should not get too close to their characters. It sounded like it was something like what you were saying. And I noticed, again, on your website that there was something mentioned about when you were young, finding acting was like an emotional outlet. So I don't know if those two tied in. And if it does, do you feel like over time that actors get the wisdom that if you get too close, it's maybe too much, maybe overwhelming? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my take is this. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as I'm going to be called on the carpet here, but there's no such thing as method acting. What that means is that there's no such thing as becoming a character. If you become a character, then you're insane.
Thank you, for Christ's sake. I'm tired of hearing people.
What you do is, the idea here is understanding. And understanding that what the actor has to do is know both psychologically and physically how to portray that character. Get involved with the story. It's the story. We tell stories. That's what actors do. They're part of the storytelling. There is no need to get that involved where you lose yourself. If you're doing that, then you are a very self-indulgent, sick actor. And I wouldn't want to be on stage or in a film where the actor didn't know that he was acting, because then they become dangerous. They can become dangerous to you and to themselves. So I think 99% of all actors, whether it be on stage or on film, know that they're acting. To get that self-involved is truly a mistake, and you can become dangerous to yourself and others. So does that help to answer that question?
I think that was an amazing answer. I think it's a really strong opinion, and I appreciate it. Do you feel like those performances done by that type of person are felt more strongly by the audience because the person is, kind of over the line with their character? They're kind of crossing some boundaries there. So do you think that has a greater impact on people because you can kind of sense that?
You know what? I doubt that really happens too much. Mm-hmm. I think it has happened in certain cases, but I seriously doubt that any actor purposely is out there giving it so much that they don't know what they're doing. If you don't know what you're doing on a moment-to-moment basis, you're in trouble. You can't help tell that story, and I don't know. Maybe it looks good, but you know what? I bet I could act any goddamn moment on film and look like I am totally involved in that character. And the reason is, I know that that's my job, and that my job is to create whatever that character is supposed to look like, sound like, and behave like.
So it's
and I will do it I will do that just as convincingly as some self-indulgent son of a bitch that is that thinks he's Napoleon.
No, dude, it is just like a chef, a top chef. You go to the best restaurant. You don't expect that motherfucker to act like he's the turkey before he carves it.
I don't know if it's just like that or not, but I like the quote.
Turkey, and you tell the actor to go act. And that's all.
I think I agree with you.
I think it's safer that way. So we got a Weeble on the line. Weeble.
I remember hearing stories. You always hear stories of actors, that are walking around in character and walking around in the clothes of the character. And, I don't think that, I think that's probably okay for them. My guess is that they believe absolutely that they're acting. And as long as they have that in their mind, they're going to be okay. It's these goofy people that think that they are becoming or are actually the character that really caused the problem.
No, have you ever heard of that? Do you have any stories of that? Because I'm thinking it would be impossible for that type of person to work.
No, I didn't work.
Some of the story, one of the stories that I've heard about that is, say, Jim Carrey, who supposedly, when making Walking on the Moon, is that it? Walking on the Moon, Man in the Moon.
Yes, Man on the Moon.
Jerry Lawler.
Yeah. He walked around in character and talked to himself in character and all that. But my guess is that Jim knew that he was acting. I doubt he lost himself so much that he didn't understand he was acting. One of the greatest film actors of our time is supposedly one of these quote unquote method actors. Great! Now I can't think of his name.
Bob the Butcher.
He just got an Oscar for Lincoln.
Yeah, that's a guy I'm thinking of too. My left foot.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis. There you go.
Daniel Day-Lewis, who keeps very much to himself. Will only be addressed by the character with certain people. Will only talk to certain people. But still in all, my guess is that Daniel knows that he's acting.
I was going to say, Bill the Butcher is one of the greatest characters of of the last 10 years or so. Daniel Day-Lewis is Bill the Butcher.
I'm sorry. You're breaking up a little bit.
I would just to say Daniel Day-Lewis as Bill the Butcher I thought was one of the best characters of all time.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's tremendous.
I like that one too.
No,
I often work with his brother-in-law, who is Bob Miller, who is the son of Arthur Miller, the great American playwright. In fact, I just saw Bob this past week. He and I are both directing a play coming in the fall. Well, he's directing one, I'm directing another at the Playhouse. And Bob has a lot of great stories about Daniel Day-Lewis.
So we're gonna call.
You need to talk to Bob.
We're gonna get Bob on the line. Right now, we got a Weeble on the line. Do you have a question, Weeble?
Yeah, actually, I have a question for yes. Is there a movie that you really like that the critics basically didn't like Darkness Falls? Is there a movie that he really liked but everybody else didn't?
Oh, you mean any movie?
Yeah, just in general, like a horror movie. You know what I'm saying? You want to say on the genre or whatever.
No, honestly, I can't recall that I had any kind of difference of opinion with any critics lately that I can think of. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to come up with an answer to your question.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Yep.
I did want to ask about Night Riders because I really liked that movie, but if you would just read the premise, you would think this movie's just insane. When you heard about the movie, what did you think about it before you ever started filming it or anything?
I thought it was a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was a tremendous idea. I think it's again, it's a nice departure that George made. He did it with after all of his success with ultimately with the success of Night of the Living Dead. That really caused him to be able to make other films. And then Night Riders was shot after Dawn. And George had the opportunity to make, at that point, George was able to make bigger connections money-wise with making Night Riders. But the idea of it, the altruism and the idea of chivalry not being dead, I think was a tremendous idea. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that it was received as well as a few of his other films, and maybe because it was a departure from the Living Dead movies. Mm-hmm. But I loved the whole idea of it. Shooting it was a lot of fun, and it was all, for me anyway, it was a 10-week summer vacation. And I couldn't have asked for a better time. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't like to watch motorcycle guys running around and going over jumps and all of that excitement? And so for me, making it was it was a summer vacation.
Your character didn't have any motorcycle scenes, I don't think, did he?
No, I didn't. Damn it.
Were you upset about that?
No,
Would you have liked to get out there?
I rode around in a van in a carriage with Brother Blue through most of it. A great guy too, and a real storyteller. Mm-hmm.
Now, here in the chat room, they want to know if you had any funny stories off set of any of your films.
Oh gosh, gee whiz.
You're going to
ask me that. That's always such a hard thing for me to answer. Funny stories. Oh God. No.
It's just all very serious.
It's very serious. I'm a very serious fellow. You know what? I'm sure I do. but nothing is coming to mind. You know, if we get to a point where something pops into my head, I'll blurt it out.
No,
How's that?
That sounds good. Or you can just call us up if it's like a couple weeks from now.
I will. I'll call you. I'll call you up again, and you know, I'll get it out there one way or another.
I did want to ask you about the movie The Three that you were filming with. We've had him on the show a bunch of times early on when we were starting the show, like 2005, with Scott Goldberg. And what has come of that?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, it's not a movie. Scott may be listening. I don't know. It was an attempt, I think, to make a movie. He has since sent me a full script. Several months ago, both Lori Cardille and myself both backed off, working on the production. And I'm not sure either one of us are going to get reconnected with Scott on his project. We gave Scott everything we could give, and it kept being. It never became totally a movie with an absolute beginning, middle, and end. I do have his most recent script in my computer. I haven't had the time to read it yet, and he has emailed me recently, very recently, about wanting to be a part of this documentary he's hoping to make that, again, I think is to help him produce this film. But that's as far as it has gotten. We've never really come to any kind of real deal on it.
Yeah. So,
so that's where that stands. For the time being, as far as I know, both Lori and I are just living our own lives and working on our own projects.
Now, what are some of your current projects you are working on?
Well, what I like is what I started with this interview was this little Twilight Zone-esque short by Justin Frankart and his cousin, Pat. I'm really interested in working with, now at my ripe old age, with new and young and interesting people that want to start to make films. Now's the time, you know. I'm not concerned about moving on and trying to make big career choices. None of that. I don't need it. If I get an opportunity to make a big career choice, I will probably jump on it. But for now, I'm interested in making little films like the one I just did and seeing them through and seeing these new filmmakers come up. I have an opportunity to work with some people doing some radio theater that I'm interested in doing. So I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit into various and different kinds of storytelling. So I have a contact with some people that are going to make some national theater pieces on the radio. So I'm looking forward to working on that. I still direct this new play that I'm working on for the fall, a play about women in the military, a very current topic, very topical. It's called A Soldier's Heart. A Marine sergeant, female Marine sergeant with a 10-year-old goes to Iraq, comes back damaged, having shot a child and also having been assaulted by her commanding officer. So I'm looking for some really good projects, and I keep myself busy doing those. I'm also trying to expand some work into New York. I like going back and forth to New York City. I have I'll just keep that to myself, what I have. I am trying to get to New York more often and looking for projects up there. So I got a lot going on, and but I'm really interested in people that want to, and I want to work with people that have the fire in their belly right now, and that are young up-and-comers, and that are interesting and intelligent, and want to be filmmakers and theater makers and storytellers.
Well, that's very cool. I want to thank you for coming on. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
If anyone wants to check you out, it's johnamplas.com, and if they wanted to connect with you on Facebook, would that be cool?
Yeah, you know what? In fact, it's probably better to connect with me on Facebook because my website is sitting fallow right now. My webmaster is having some personal difficulties, and so my personal website is not really, up and running
any
that well.
super fan out there that would want to put together a website for you might possibly do that?
They can contact me on Facebook.
Yeah, that's facebook.com/jamplas. And we'll have the link right below.
Throw them some loot, too, while you're at it.
Honestly, Facebook and stuff, when you have Facebook and a lot of social media networks, you don't really need the website too much.
No, not really. I have a website.
Yeah, I'm finding that so. The only unfortunate thing about my website is that I was just about to open up a store with autograph photos and things of that nature, and just when that was about to happen, the webmaster kind of stopped being able to provide me with download.
Maybe you should talk to Neil, because Nasty Neil runs the eBay.
Well, maybe I should.
You can sell your autographs on eBay, man, and make billions of dollars.
Wow.
We'll support me and Neil's tea habit.
Well, I don't know what's going on here.
Maybe so. I don't know what's going on here either.
I think he's trying to get me to get a cut of your income here, but
no, we're trying to increase.
Oh, okay.
Increase. No cut.
All right.
Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
It was.
It was my pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I had a great time, and I thank you guys for having me, and it was a real pleasure meeting all of you.
Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau. Just call me Billy. Everyone does. And you're listening to withoutyourhead.com.